Okay.
Hey, what's going down, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. Solar Faker Shotty from the R&B Talk Show on the podcast, host and DJ. And standing right here on the other side, she's a singer, songwriter. I know you have seen on stage, open up for plenty of your favorite artists, over the years. Give it up for Ms.Monét. Welcome to the R&B Talk Show.
Hey, I have made it to the R&B talk show. I'm excited about this here.
Oh man, make me feel good. Thank you. I appreciate it. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. What a
yeah,
joy you are. Your platform is amazing. So thank
uh,
you.
I appreciate it. Good stuff. What's the weather like where you at? Is it snowed or
Well, I'm in Las Vegas right now, and we are at a nice, beautiful temperature of about 70 degrees, and
oh
we're going to be pretty
man, I
much
need that.
yeah, we're gonna be pretty much like this for the remainder of the year. So I'm excited about that. And but funny, that's just here. I was just in Long Beach last week and it was 85 degrees there. So back home in
Okay.
Cali. So I'm on the West Coast. Sorry, all my East Coast people. I know I feel for you.
Just
For
bring
you.
the sun, in the
Hey,
lives.
we're right here with flip flops still on. So I'm just saying. Yeah.
You should like you ain't gonna worry about no trips, no heavy coats, no anything.
I
Unless you
always
gotta
when I
travel
travel.
before.
When I travel, it's funny because I um I always forget to bring a coat because I don't need one
Okay.
here. You know what I mean? And so I have to
Oh
look
man.
at the weather. And, okay, let me bring a coat or a jacket or something. Oh yeah, literally on my way out the door, my driver's waiting for me. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I realize I need to get a coat because it's going to be crazy where I'm going right now or something. But I often forget because we just don't have coats out here. We put on our jackets for style, but there's no hardcore winter coats. I've had to put on. I have them, but I don't have to put them on per se here daily.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You guys are blessed and stuff. I want to get
Mm.
right to it and talk about your brand new single, "You're Going to Need Me," and how
Yeah.
this song became about.
Shout out to my collaborator and producer BJ Kemp. Um, I we had just wrapped up the follow single, the previous single from that one, which was called "Groove with You." The do what I do
Okay.
with Mr. Will Downing, and the following up on the success of that and everything. And I was like, I wanted to do something, but I've always wanted to do this remake song, and it was two of them in mind. And I told BJ, I says, well, there's two I want to do over. And I gave him both names, and I said, well, which one we want to go for? And he was like, let's do that Dion. And I was like, yeah. So that was the one I wanted to do anyway, because I hadn't heard it done yet. You know what I mean? It was always
Yeah.
referenced as the Usher sample, right? So I hadn't really heard it done in a way that I could appreciate it in the way I had heard it, because I heard it from a DJ back in DC. They do this thing called like salute to the samples, and where they play the sample and then they play the original. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on, who was that? And he was like, that's Dion. And I was like, Shazam, you're right, that is Dion. So yeah, so I wanted it to. I've always loved that song. I just loved how it felt. I love feel good music, and I just love just the drive and the the interpretation of it. So when we made our attempt at it, I said, well, if we're going to do it, we got to stay as authentic to it as possible. I want to keep it as sonically close as possible. And we really, really put forth the effort in doing that. Like we dissected each, I sung all the vocals, and I literally dissected each vocal nuances and the whole bit to just reinterpret, to restructure, excuse me,
Wow.
the song. And BJ did the same thing with the instruments. So we really, really dissected that thing down and created another Ms.Monét masterpiece.
Wow. When it comes to making music, and for yourself, you're a critic of your own.
Mhm.
Was there ever like when you create songs, it be that one song you be chasing for, something you might want to create, or somebody present to you, be like, God, man, I be want to make a song like this forever. Yeah, this is the one. Or it be something
Mhm.
like, nah, that doesn't fit me. You know what I'm saying? It just in my system. Has there ever been like that way?
I'm a lover of music. in all genres, and so it's like I find joy in everything that I hear, and like wow, man, like I would love to do something like that or blah 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 and everything. But there's not really one specific song I can really channel in on right now. Maybe the closest thing to it would probably be, "I Will Always Love You." Just how Whitney recreated a Dolly Parton song, right? We know as a Dolly Parton song, and no one knew it was Dolly because Whitney made it. You know what I mean? Just turned it
Yeah.
into her song versus it being Dolly. But I always wanted to do something similar to that, and then I did my version of that when I released my first single, At This Moment, which was originally done by Billy Vera and the Beaters, and I redid it, and I was like, this is like my I Will Always Love You. I always wanted a song that would be the best representation of who I was as an artist. And so when I did that one, that was it. So I would say, that was always my blueprint to kind of chase down, like something like that. But again, I love feel good music. I love stuff that you hear, you be like, oh, yes, almost brings tears to your eyes,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah, and there's so much music out there that just does that to me, gives me the warm and tinglies all the time. I can't, like I said, I can't really pinpoint down just one. Many, many.
Absolutely. Now, while I was reading your story, you have a 5 octave vocal range. I'm like, good Lord.
Yeah.
You're the only guest out of 400 plus that I said that has that, and I tell
Yeah.
you, yeah, so to me, that's history, just to interview you with that amazing stuff. When did you know your voice could do what it do, as far as like you was growing up and everything?
Gosh, it was always knew I had something. My mother would say, when I was born, I came out singing like the highest note ever. She said, "You didn't cry, you came out swelling a note." I'm like, "Yeah, mom, whatever." And she said, "No, no, true, true thing." Um, when I was 7, I went my first talent show, and I always wanted to perform. That was just who I was as a child. I come from a very uh, thick musical background, from
Yeah.
gospel to R&B. My father, biological father, sung with Marvin Gaye for several years, and
Okay.
so with that, and my mother having a gospel background, and my grandparents being gospel promoters in the Bay Area where I'm from, so just having all this music growing up as a child, being just like implemented into me, and then the way my parents at the time would listen to music on the radio. Shout out to KDIA Radio 1310 back home in Oakland, California, because the way music was played then, there was no programming as we know it to be now. So it was just music being played. So I was introduced to David Bowie and Led Zeppelin, and then Earth, Wind and Fire, and then the Jacksons and Aretha, and then Shaka and Rufus, and then the Emotions, and then the Beatles, and then Elton John. It was just that's how the music was being played in my home. So growing up, I just loved music, and then I just wanted to emulate all the things that I heard. So when I was 7, 8, 9, I think that's when it really, really clicked with me. Like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Now I'm singing in church, doing my first solo as a child. And I'm just figuring out like this is really, really what I want to do. I think when I got into my teen years is when I was trying to understand what I had. I knew I had something. It was being formed. It was still developing. But I knew it was like so much more about it that I wanted just to understand. And so I get like I said, my mid-teen years is when I was like, okay, yeah, this is turning into this thing, and I'm having this sound. Now it's about, but well, where is the sound? Who do I want to sound like, or who do I want to, because we always have our, our blueprints, right? Who
Yeah.
and me, it was like my mother and my grandmother, which were my, immediate direct. I just wanted to sing like my mom and grandma because every time they sung in church, people was falling out in the pews and taking off and crying and all this stuff. I wanted that was powerful to me. I was like, I want to do that. Um, but then Whitney came along, and finally I had someone that looked like me that I could kind of adhere to and understand. I'm like, oh, okay. And so just kind of watching her growth and coming into as an artist, I just really patterned myself a lot behind that vocally. And then there were other unsongs like, the Lisa Fishers and the Angela Winbishes and Anita Baker, of course, Shaka, Sarah Vaughan. Again, all this music is being played in my house. So now I'm listening to and then of course, Tina Marie. These voices in my head was just constantly giving me, just fueling me with just like, ideas and everything to develop. And I think, like I said, by the time I really understood my instrument is when I was, about 17, 18. And that's when I went on the road confidently for the first time. I graduated from high school and went on tour with Huey Lewis and the News. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, yeah, this is a thing.
Yeah. It's crazy though too, because if you're a kid, you have so many dreams of what directions you want to go and stuff. Then it hits you by the time, you're like 18 years old, you start feeling it's like, okay, I know my path and stuff. Like I know this is gonna be whatever, like it go right, it go left, whatever it's gonna go, it's gonna come out sort of from experience, you can say.
Yeah. Yeah. It was always that way. I was singing in clubs when I was 14 years old, 14, 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
Didn't have no business up in there, but they would let me come in and sing. They would let me come in and sing. And then when the band took the break, they had to escort me to the back office and sit down in there because I ain't supposed to be in the club. I'm a child, but they let me come in there and sing in the clubs and stuff. And so my mother was seeing that happen to me more and more, and people wanted me to perform here and sing here, and her only wish, she said, I just want you to, I see this is what you really want to do. Just graduate from high school for me, and then you could just go whatever you want. And that's exactly what I did. Like I said, I graduated from high school, and a month later, I was on tour for 3 months.
Wow. Now, you have caught a lot of attention from a lot of well-known producers / Grammy Award winners, songwriters, Dr. Dre, Marcus Miller, Patrick Leonard, Steve Jordan, Walter. Just the list goes on and stuff. When you was hearing that, did you actually believe it? Like, far like, did it sink in? Like, oh my God, like, this actually happened to me?
Oh gosh, I have throughout my career thus far, and still, I've had many wow moments. Like, wow, this is kind of crazy, especially when I work. I'm in the studio and this person is across from me, and I'm having this moment like, wow. I told the story not too long ago. A very distinctive wow moment was when I was on tour with the Dukes of September. The Dukes of September was Michael McDonald, Boz Scaggs, and Donald Fagen from Steely Dan. And I sing with these gentlemen. I was with Boz for 23 years. I was with Michael McDonald for 10 years. I was with Donald Fagen for 4. So it was like to have these gentlemen, and we were at a table. We were having lunch, and we're just sitting at the table, and I'm sitting here, and I think Boz is right next to me, and Michael's across from me, and Donald is like right there. We're just conversing amongst each other and everything. And then I kind of like went into slow motion. I kind of stopped and looked at the table and was like, whoa, it hit me. It was almost like slow motion, like, and I'm looking at them and their mouths is moving, but nothing is just slow. And it hit me at that moment, like, I am sitting here at the table with 3 of the most iconic voices in music history. The soundtrack and the music that these gentlemen have produced and put out, and to just for us to enjoy forever. No one sounds like Boz, no one sounds like Michael McDonald, no one sounds like Donald Fagen. And yet here I am, this Black girl from Oakland, sitting at the table, just talking and hanging out and working and just, and that was a big wow moment for me. Like, wow, God is good. This is crazy, And I've had many other ones. When I met Whitney, that was another one. It's so many, that I can kind of go into, but it's just crazy when I just think of my career and think of where I've been and all that I've done. My mother, she keeps saying, when are you going to write your book? When are you going to write your book? And I'm like, I don't know, Mom, I'm going to do it. She said, you've just done so much. And I was like, and yet there's still so much more to do. So yeah, I've had many wild moments, and still I'm writing the story.
Wow. Being a performer and you perform with them, did that kind of like shape you, as the years went by to be like, okay, this how I should carry myself professionally, this, be serenade the crowd, no matter what style of music I performed in. That kind of like groomed you, mentally to be like, okay, I'm so ready. I can't wait to get on stage and just hit a home run.
Well, again, I shout out and I always say Huey Lewis in the News. I blame them. If you guys want to blame anybody about Ms. Monét, you call Huey Lewis, Johnny Cola, Sean Hayes, Sean Harper, Mario Cipollina, God rest his soul. You blame those gentlemen for this monster right here because they took a chance on a kid to come into their band and to sing and tour with them, and they showed me the world. They showed me, through their eyes and through my own, just just like I don't know anything. This is my first time out of the country. Fresh passport, ink ain't even dry yet. I mean, it was just to have these moments. But what they did do um, is while they're showing me the world, they're teaching me how things are supposed to go. They're showing me how business is supposed to be handled, and I took from that and applied it at that point to every scenario there happened thereafter, to come prepared, to be an asset in the scenario situation. So, you come ready, and you come knowing your stuff, knowing your music, knowing all these things. I get that from them because that's how they were, and they instilled that again in me from day one. So every opportunity I got after that, I applied it. So when you say, well, Monet, she's going to come prepared. She's going to know her stuff. She's not wasting your time. And again, and that's why I was, constantly being called back and forth because you're going to get the best of me, but you're going to get a preparedness that comes, and that has been shaped time and time again because of the experiences that I've had before me.
In 2012, you performed right in front of former presidents Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. Of course, this time when Barack was going for his second term. Did you know in your mind like I finally arrived? It's one of you perform with singers, but we talk about presidential. Do you feel like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm actually here, and my family
Well,
is seeing this?
it was crazy. So that the performances for the three presidents, that was Barack's first, his inaugural. And then
Yeah.
the second one, I did a recording with Jennifer Hudson for the first dance, and I was
Okay.
the vocal supporting vocal with Jennifer Hudson on that. But yeah, it when you're like, and the thing about it is, we knew we were performing for Joe Biden, President Biden at the time, and everything because it was for his family party. Unbeknownst to us, here comes President Clinton coming down the pipeline. Like, is it? Yes, it is. Okay. And it's funny because you're standing there now prior to when all this, pomp and circumstances going on. I literally had to give them my firstborn, my blood type, all the information. You get this
Wow.
thick thing. I had to do security clearances that, because you're around these people, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's like, oh my God. And we're standing there, and all of a sudden, here comes, all the security coming down, and then it's like, what's happening and everything, and they're rushing. They're like, get back, get back, get back, and I'm like, is a fire happening? And next thing you know, here comes Bill Clinton walking down. I'm like, oh, okay, no wonder Secret Service is running through here. And then they were like, and he looked at it, he was like, they're okay, she's okay, she's okay. And I'm like, hello, Mr. President. Like, this is crazy, So those moments were crazy, and then meeting Barack, that 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 in itself was just a wow,
All
a
right.
wow moment, and it was a wow because at that time, I'm sure you can relate the sense of pride that we had at
Yeah.
that moment. I was so prideful, and I was so like, wow, we're going to be okay. I've seen this happen with my own eyes, and I was so grateful and thankful that my grandmother got to see it happen with hers. So it was just a sense of pride that I was overwhelmed by in those experiences, especially in meeting and then performing in front of these gentlemen. So yeah, I again, my mother, write the book.
Wow, that's incredible, just to, perform, in front of the presidents and stuff, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, like, wow, I did something that my family was fighting for so long, and I got a chance. It made it easier for me to meet and be in the same room and to do what I do, I could imagine
Yeah.
though, you try to get focused and performing, and doing that. I know like you was on an all-time high at that moment.
It was a crazy time because when we did it at the time, I was singing with Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. And so we, as Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, were performing for them and everything. And so again, none of us knew that they're going to actually be right there in our face like this. We're like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, you know, hold on, this is crazy, um, and just to experience that and go through that, again, you go in like you're awestruck for a minute, but then you got to align yourself and get back right back to business, which is what we did. And they were so gracious and so grateful and appreciative of us and our talent. And I'll forever take that with me.
Yeah, I was listening to your joints. The song that I like you did with the legendary Will Downing called Groove with You. And
Yeah.
how did that record came about?
Groove with you. Again, shout out to my collaborator and co-producer, BJ Kemp. So Will has a song on his last record that he called Closer. And we actually opened up his show with the song Closer. I've been singing with Will Downing since 2017. A little before that, but consistently now since 2017. And but yeah, Will released a song called Closer, and I love that song. I love how it feels. And so when I came off of The Voice and I released Celebrate and the success of that, I wanted to follow it up with something equally as strong. I hadn't done a duet, and it made sense to kind of, well, done a duet for me. I've sung on duets, but I hadn't done one for myself. And so I was like, you know what, Will, I got this song, you think you want to get on it with me? And he was like, what? Sure, of course. And so it was an easy ask, and Will got on the thing. I went over his house. We kind of wrote on lyrics and did some stuff and everything, and then BJ came back and put it all together, and that's how we came up with Groove with You, and it is a vibe. I love Groove with You. It was really cool because for me it's Monet, but a different part of Monet that a lot of people don't get to experience. And the same with Will. It's a different side of Will that a lot of people really don't get to see,
Right.
experience. So we were able to capture that magic that we do on stage, on record. And yeah, that's how Groove with You came to be.
The next one is At This Moment.
At this moment, yeah. At this moment, again, at this moment was, or as I was saying earlier, was my I will always love you. It was my coming out. I hadn't released a single in quite some time, and aside from the independent record I had put out several years earlier than that. And I wanted to just do something to kind of reintroduce me back into the fold, because now music is transitioning and is going through these different phases. And so now here we are where artists are being more independent with how they're recording, how they're releasing their music. We're releasing it on our own. We have these outlets to do it now. And so here I am. I said, well, let me release something. And again, it was like, well, I want to do something that is somewhat known, but that I can recreate and Monet it, as I say, but make it mine. But I also want to keep the authenticity of what the song is, so people can remember and say, "Oh, I remember that song. That's right, that's right." So and I said, "And I want my own. I will always love you." So when I came across at this moment, it just made so much sense to me, and I went in there and did it, and with an all-star cast and the recording of it. and it to this day it's still, I think, my favorite song, because it is the representation of who Ms. Monét is, as far as just the artist, as far as the feeling, as far as the delivery. That's what At This Moment represents. I tell people, well, who is Ms. Monét? Go listen to At This Moment first, and let that tell the story. Let that set the precedence for you.
I love his title right here, Breathe Love.
Breathe love, breathe love, breathe love was written by myself and a good friend of mine, Kenny Moran. We did that several years ago, and I just wanted this song that had this overt sense of just positivity. We're going through so much on a daily, and at that time, it just felt like, I wanted something that I could dance to, that I could put on and let it motivate me. And
Yeah,
so that's how we came up with Breathe Love. And Kenny's from Toronto, so he had kind of like the dance kind of, as far as understanding the dance, the four on the floor kind of vibe. Because I'm not a disco chick or a dance chick,
yeah.
but but I wanted that kind of song, right? I wanted that feel, and he understood the assignment with that, and so that's how we came up with Breathe Love.
The next one, Wonderful You.
Wonderful You. Oh my God, you're going down the line here. Wonderful You. Shout out to Trevor. Shout out to Trevor Lawrence Jr. He and we wrote that song several years ago.
Oh wow.
At the time, I wrote it for a then relationship that I was in, and we were asked to do something for a television show. They were looking for some music for a television show, and that it didn't, of course, happen. But we still had the song, and so with that, I went back to Trevor and I was like, I would love to release Wonderful You. Let's do it. And I was like, and I'm such a fan of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. I love them and their production, and I wanted like my ode to Jam and Lewis somewhat. And so
Yeah,
when you listen to Wonderful You, it gives you Jam and Lewis, and so that's how we came up with Wonderful You.
wow. I tell you, what I like about your style of music is like the titles, the song titles, and you hear your music. It's so classy. No matter
Thank
what
you.
style it is, it's very, respective. And sometimes when I hear songs, I know you hear yourself. It's like there's a hit and miss, with certain artists, and yours is like, oh, I'm gonna hit you with this, I'm gonna hit you with that, and it like a person gotta really pay attention to catch up because they don't, they're missing out on, yeah, hey, like
Yeah,
what's how it's supposed to be and everything and stuff.
yeah,
Is that where
yeah.
your energy levels at? Like, hey, I'm gonna hit them with this, just to see, how they respond to my records.
You know, I really, I just say I'm just gonna be Monet. Let me do what Ms. Monét do. If you know who Ms. Monét is, or if you've seen me live or seen me in scenarios and situations, I'm going to be this persona. I'm gonna be this person, and this is person who just get up to the mic and it's just gonna sing you down. And give you a feeling. I'm like I said, I'm into the warm and tinglies, and I like to perform where people can be like, I felt I was with you. You did that. You had me
Yeah.
right here. Did I have you in a chokehold? A little bit. Okay, perfect. You know what I mean? That's Monet. You know what I mean? Monet, and she's a powerhouse. She's a power singer. You know. So when it comes to that, I just wanted to be able to produce and do music that will resonate in that retrospect, and that would be classic and timeless at the same time. I wanted, and I've always, my goal is just to just release stuff that feels good, because when it
Absolutely.
feels good, you'll always reflect back to it. You can always go back to it. Like I said, I released At This Moment in like 2011, but you play it right now and it still resonates loud and feels good, and so that's always really kind of for me my goal is to create timeless pieces, classics, stuff that you could play over and over again, whether it's today, tomorrow, or next year. It'll still give you the same feeling. So that's usually my goal when it comes to producing and dropping music.
So we're gonna do right here in the middle of this show. We're gonna play your record. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms.Monét, you're gonna need because I damn sure ain't gonna need you. So let's get it. Here we go. I love it. Got that unwavering feel to it. Come on, Ms.Monét. Listen, you laced that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Play it again. Yes, yes, yes. You're gonna need me by Ms.Monét. I love, you pay homage to Dionne Warwick, which that's the original song and stuff. It's like a combination of Usher's throwback and it's all matched in one and stuff. And this is a hot joint. I suggest
Thank
you all please download that joint, play it, tell everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
like I said at the beginning of the video, beginning of the song, you gonna need me because that damn sure ain't gonna need you. Let's get that
You're
corrected.
exactly
No.
right. We had fun. We had a good time recording that and just putting it together and just the magic unfold. Like I said, BJ, shout out to BJ Kemp. He did all the instruments. It's the only thing he did not play was the guitar that I told him. I said I need Tito Jackson guitar, and we started.
Yeah.
I said I need that sound. I need some Tito. I need some Jackson Five Tito. Okay, and so
Yeah.
we ended up getting Joey Williams from the Grammy Award winning Blind Boys of Alabama to play that part, and then the piano trickled. We got our homeboy Mike Blankenship from Spearhead Michael Franny's group
Yeah.
to do that. And then the horn part came from a dear friend of ours from the Bay Area, and legendary Bill Ortiz, and so he did the horn stuff. But everything else, BJ Kemp, it was crazy. And yeah, I give him his flowers every time I can because he really is my Quincy Jones. And we've just been able to produce, in the last year and a half, three back to back to back amazing songs that I'm just so proud of, and I can't wait to what's coming next and what we're going to do next, and just kick down the door.
Yeah. Now, is there going to be like a video visualizer for it, or you had something in the works?
We were like back and forth pondering if we should and everything, and everyone's like, you know what, let's just really push it. You know what I mean? Visually, because we're like, are people still watching videos? We're
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
is it still happening?
Yeah.
Like I did one for Celebrate and everything. We didn't do one with Groove with You, but it's just, management's like, maybe we can channel our energies, into really, really pushing the song and really, really pushing the history behind it, and me as this being more people are finding out who I am, and just letting me allow, like, platforms such as yourselves. Thank you for allowing artists like myself to come and tell my story, because
Yeah.
now this is where this is important to really make sure that my story is told and everything. And so yeah, so that's what we kind of deterred away from the idea of a visual and just let the song just kind of speak. And then be like, wait a minute, well, let me talk to Monet. Now I'm like, so what do you want to know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, I love this joint, because when I'm hearing the song, I'm thinking about, you coming out of, like you come out of the car, you shut the door and stuff, and then he's like, what I do was, I didn't mean to, I love you, and this and that. And you could be somewhere like downtown Manhattan somewhere,
I mean, we can speak it into existence. You never know. If the right machine kind of comes around and says, "Hey, we want to pick up you as an artist and this, like that, and get a visual out there." It can happen. So we put it all into the atmosphere and see what goes up and what comes down. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's about. Before I wrap it up, what's next for you in 2026, the first quarter of the year?
Oh gosh, in the mix 2026, first quarter of the year. Already kicking down the door. I'm just looking at my calendar. I'm the principal artist here at the number one supper club in Las Vegas called Delilah. And so we'll be doing a week coming off of Christmas, just New Year's Eve and all this stuff. And I just had literally doing every day there at my residency there. And then I am going into rehearsals. I'm also one of the principal artists on the Smooth Jazz Cruise that happens. We do every year. This would be the 22nd year, if I'm not mistaken, 22nd to 23rd. 23rd year of the Smooth Jazz Cruise, hosted by Marcus Miller, Boney James, are our hosts, and we have people like Brian Culbertson, Jonathan Butler, our musical directors, Erica Marienthal, Candy Dolfer, Mindy Abear. We have this year, Kenny G is joining us. So I'm looking forward to working with Kenny G on the ship in the middle of the sea, as we call it, the party at sea. So getting geared up for that. because it's always a lot of music, a lot of stuff to input. Me curating my show that I do on the actual ship. But always a good time. I'm so excited about that. And then working on some live performances. That's where my head's at now. To now you've heard the single, you know the artist. Now come see me live in action. So we're starting to try to book the calendar for me to do some live performances for the first quarter and beyond.
Wow, shoot, start off, get ready to explode, first of the year
Yeah,
and stuff.
kicking out.
Most definitely, though. Yeah, before you get off here, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to coming on here. I really appreciate that, and this is one of the great ways to close out 2025 and stuff. It's been an interesting year, as, as you can speak.
This whole year, I'm like, do we want to just crumble up the whole year and throw it away? Like, just
Yeah,
just so much going on. But I just want to tell the people is just stay prayerful, and stay within the boundaries of those around you who support and love you and love them back. That's what's important. This is when we understand family is important. If you got any beef and angst, go in that stuff. It's not necessary. We don't have no understanding of time and when time expires, because we all have an expiration. When you don't know it, you can't maneuver as if you do. So you have
absolutely.
to just every day eat to the fullest, and tell those that you love them of the whole bit, and move forth that way, and do it in such a graceful and positive way that nothing can stop you. So that's what's important, and I encourage everyone to go into 2026 with a mindset of I'm going to be I'm going to be great, regardless of whatever it is, regardless of what's happening. And my family is going to be great, and my people. And that's how we keep that reciprocation moving and going. And we develop our own sense of pride and being amongst ourselves. And we get through it. And that's how we get through this administration and all of the things, the woes of the world, right? Listen, not here, not on my shoulders.
Absolutely, absolutely, and stuff. I will give big shouts to Rob Lefford,
Yeah.
for hitting up V. Big shouts to Miss V for negotiating this interview and stuff.
Oh my
And
God, yes, love V. Thank you so much, V, for what a beautiful spirit. We met when I was performing with Will at the Hampton Jazz Legacy,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
that festival, and just her spirit, and we just immediately was like, boom, girl, hey, I mean,
Yeah, she got a great energy about her.
oh, she's such a beautiful being, and it was just instantaneous. And she was like, I need to, and I was like, that would be awesome. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
because that is what I want. I want more people to know who I am, and know about me, because a lot of people, when they read my story, they're like, wait, you did all of this? And I don't, yeah, I
Absolutely.
did. So yeah, shout out to V. And Ron says hello. He sends his love and everything. He's at an event
Yeah,
right now. He told me to tell you thank you. And he
not
said,
a
I'm gonna be
problem,
I'll
definitely.
go back and check it out, but please tell him thank you. So we appreciate again the platform, because it's important for artists, especially independent artists, to be able to tell our stories. And you've provided a way for us to do that. So thank you so much, Rashad.
Most definitely. Before you get off that stage, I think we need to run it back one more time. You know what I'm saying? You're going to need me right here again.
Run it
Let's get
back. Run it back. Select that.
it.
Tito Jackson.
Yeah. I love that bass.
BJ. I mean, she was preaching a story, and shout out to Holland Dozier Holland, the writers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great production team behind this record right here.
Yeah, that BJ.
Yeah. Woo. Woo. So I'm talking about right there. Once again, Ms.Monét, you're gonna need me. Available on all
Listen,
digital outlets. Thank you once again and stuff. And whenever you drop another joint or EP album, you're always welcome to come back right here on the R&B Talk Show.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Again, like I said, I've been following you on the gram for quite some time,
I
so
appreciate it.
I appreciate you. And again, it's an honor to be here on your platform. Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you,
me.
thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. It made me feel good and stuff. And with that being said, you have a blessed night. And thank you all for taking the time to leave comments and stuff like that. Appreciate you, Wanda Brown, for being a subscriber. Really appreciate you, Corey. Really appreciate that and stuff. And with that being said, we are out of here.
All right.
Yeah.